Welcome to Friday Friends, RI Elder Info's weekly look at the organizations and individuals providing resources for Rhode Island seniors, caregivers, and professionals.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It is 9 o'clock on Friday, and I am Deb Burton, the host of your weekly Friday Friends streaming podcast, where we bring you information that you or someone you know needs to know about. And I am really excited to say that starting today, our first Fridays are going to be talking about different financial fitness concerns as we get older. Because, a lot of times we have questions and we're not really sure who to trust. So I am super excited that we have Washington Trust as our sponsor. They do a lot of good work for our older adults and are very vigilant on making sure that people do not fall victim to scams. So super excited to have Washington Trust support Friday Friends for now through at least the summertime, so that we get a chance to really fully discuss different financial aspects that are important to you or someone you know. So hit the like button, the share button, and get this out there because it's going to be super important. Now, as you all know, we are a nonprofit and we couldn't do what we do every day without the support of our sponsors. So thank you to Point 32 Health Foundation, to United Healthcare, Neighborhood Healthcare, Oak Street Health, all of our individual donors and event sponsors. We couldn't do this without your help. So thank you very much. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my longtime friend, Brian Mahone from Washington Trust.
Hello, Deb. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad you're able to come on today and kick us off with our Friday Friends Financial Fitness series, because I've known you a really long time, and I know you. How about you tell everybody about you and what your role is there at Washington Trust?
Well, I've been with Washington Trust for about 15 years or a little bit longer now. We had our own company in Massachusetts, Foxborough area for 15 years, since 95. Switched over during the 2008 banking crisis, where the bank wanted to be in Massachusetts with more of a presence, and timing with the melting of the world back then was pretty good. We shut down and kind of moved our whole operation over to Washington Trust and gave them a presence in Mass. And it's been smooth sailing ever since.
That is awesome. And you're the Vice President Regional Manager for Washington Trust.
Correct. Yep. We have a sales team that we brought over 15 years ago. Everybody's still with us. It's just a great platform, the oldest community bank in the country. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us to have such a quality reputation bank behind us. And it's helped us just grow leaps and bounds.
Very cool. And, I pay a lot of attention to what is going on in the area of banking and finance as it relates to older adults, because I think a lot of times we're not necessarily as prepared as we could be or should be for our added longevity. And one of the things that I've noticed as I watch different testimony, legislative testimony, things like that, is that Washington Trust members are always represented in front of the legislatures to talk about ways to keep individuals safe from predators and things like that. So it just made sense that when we wanted to kick off Finance Fridays, that I reach out to you for this. So when it comes to getting older, how can people afford what they need? What does that look like?
It's more and more challenging every day, right? Everything right now is just that you see on the news and whatever, lights, camera, action, food, milk, everything's up. So Social Security doesn't keep going up, even though it's fractionally doesn't keep up with everything. Pensions are kind of gone by the wayside. A lot of people, their biggest asset is their house. and there's no ATM slot in the kitchen wall. So equity that you've built up over the years is great. It's build your net worth. But how do you use it to make your life a little easier is a different question. So, and it gets tougher if you retire and you don't have the income monthly to qualify for certain types of loans with debt ratios. That becomes even more limited, but you still have this built up equity that you can't eat, you can't spend, you can't do anything with it. And certain programs are geared towards it. Reverse mortgages, there's home equity lines that you still have to qualify. You have to qualify for a reverse mortgage too. They don't just give them out willy-nilly. They're very diligent, and there's a lot of red tape in it to protect seniors, and that's the whole point of not putting anybody in a bad spot, just letting them get the help they need out of the asset they've saved up over 20 something years.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I can turn on the TV or pull up a online newspaper and not see something about the housing crisis. And sometimes there's some not necessarily flattering comments about older adults who don't want to sell their house. But there's some real practical realities that I think there's maybe only 600 houses on the market. So if someone did want to sell their house, there's no place to go.
Yeah.
So how do they utilize what they have in order to be able to remain independent at home for as long as possible? Because realistically, everybody wants to age in place. They want to be in their own home, surrounded by all the things that they're used to having. The house that you don't have to turn the lights on when you get up in the middle of the night and have to go get a glass of water at the kitchen. Like, it, and it's safe and comfortable. So what are some of the ways that people may be able to maybe not install an ATM in the kitchen cabinet, although that'd be pretty cool. How can they utilize the value of their house to be able to help them, get the home modifications they need, or pay for a home care agency to come in, or sometimes it's just the plain maintenance of, holy moly, I need a roof.
Yeah, exactly. There's a number of things. I mean, regular old-fashioned traditional mortgages, cash out refinances. If you're carrying a lot of debt, you can do a cash out refinance and put those things all together. Credit cards are 24% right now. So if you have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a credit card, which that sounds crazy, but there are plenty of people with that just have to do that right now to make ends meet. But
let me just stop you for a sec. When you say cash out refinance, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So if you have a house, say, worth $600,000,
okay,
and you have a $100,000 mortgage, and you have $60,000 in other debt or cash out that you want to do to make home improvements, you can do a cash out refinance, meaning refinance, take some of that equity, blend it into a monthly payment, pay off your first loan, pay off the credit cards if you want. Now your monthly payments may have gone down in total because you eliminated 24% credit cards. You can actually prepay that interest and shorten the term and pay your house off much quicker. Or, if just saving the most amount of money as possible, you spread it out for a longer term, 30-year term is typical. And that will help you save the most money monthly, even if you eliminated credit card debt.
That makes sense, because I think a lot of times we don't realize how quickly folks can get into trouble with the 24 to 30% interest on some of these credit cards.
Yeah, we see it a lot. It's just a reality. It's just a reality. A lot of folks have lived in their house. Boomers. I think there's the stats are over 20 years that the boomers have mostly lived in their house, haven't moved. A lot of people bounce around. They stay in the house for 3, 4, 5 years, trade up because they've earned equity, and keep doing that. Well, downsizing right now, like you said earlier, you sell your house, there's nowhere to go. Now you have a bunch of equity in your bank account, but where do you go live? Even rent is tough right now. And, home equity lines are another option where you can just take a floating type credit card. It's a not a credit card, but it works the same. It's a floating line of credit that you can pay down. If you take out $100,000 line of credit and you only borrow 10,000 of that, you're paying the interest only on the 10,000 that you've used. And the rest of it, if you pay that off for whatever reason, now you have 100,000 open again. It's an open end line that you can take.
Is that the one that's called a HELOC? You see it referred to as HELOC sometimes?
Correct. Home equity line of credit. Everything in the mortgage world is acronyms. I feel like the Army, but everything we do has acronyms.
Yeah. And so that works almost like a credit card, except you can use the whole amount or only use what you need as you need it. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, you're required to just pay the interest, so you can certainly pay more to pay it down quicker. After about 9 years and 10 months, though, if you still carry a balance, most HELOCs convert from interest only to a principal and interest repayment over the remaining term. So, for example, call it 20 years remaining term, but now your payment goes up. So if you took that out when you were 62 years old and still working, and now you're 72 and that home equity line is 100 grand and that just converted to a principal and interest, now your payment's going to go up, and you can refinance to a new home equity line and start that 10-year clock ticking over again and pay interest only. But sometimes if you're just collecting Social Security, you may not be able to do that at that time, just because you don't qualify with the income that you had when you were working, and then you retired and you don't have that same income.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about, and you want to think about it sooner rather than later. And I see a lot of times where folks don't realize the cost as we get older. I say it all the time. Medicare does not cover long-term care. So if you need care and you want to stay home, what is your plan for being able to pay for that care? Now, there's also something I've heard of, and I think sometimes it gets a bad rap. I had a guest speak from the Consumer Finance and Safety Bureau out of Washington on it, and that's the reverse mortgages. How does a reverse mortgage work, and how is it different from a home equity line of credit? Because I think I get them confused. So I have to imagine there's other people out there who get them confused.
Yeah, it is. It's a program that's been around before the 80s, I think, was when they first started doing them, and they constantly review them and make improvements. They're insured by HUD, so they're all insured by FHA to make them as safe as possible for the lenders and the heirs. But basically, a reverse mortgage lets you tap into the equity, take out a mortgage that you don't have to make monthly payments on. It's not free money. There is still interest accruing. The interest just adds to the back of the loan. Basically, you're deferring it, and you get to live in the house, use a portion of that equity for now for whatever purpose. If you need to make home improvements to make your house safer environment for you to stay in, convert first floor bathrooms into something a little bigger, quit going up and down the stairs, whatever it is. These are just loans like any other loan, except there's no monthly payment required. You can make a payment. There are no prepayment penalties, so if you pay it off early. And basically, the interest just accrues on the back end of the loan. So if you wanted to pay off debt, if you wanted to pay off a mortgage, if you just said, boy, if I just got rid of my $100,000 home equity line that I'm paying $900 a month on, I could be fine. A reverse mortgage lets you pay that off. You have to pay off any loan against the house. And if you eliminate that payment, now the interest is accruing on the back. You're deferring the interest, but you have a monthly cash flow boost, which for some people is the trick.
Yeah, because that's what can help you pay for the care that you need. Now, you said that there's no free money, which I think we all maybe know that, but really wish that there was free money. So if you're taking out money on a monthly basis in a reverse mortgage, understanding that there's no such thing as free money, when does that come due? Like when does it ever get paid back? Is it something that gets paid back, as we get older? Sometimes we do need to go into long-term care. Does the note come due once you leave the house? Is it okay if your caregiver who's, maybe your life partner, your adult child, if they're still in the house, but you had to move into, say, a nursing home, or if you pass away, is it something that comes from the state? Given that there's no such thing as free money, unless you win the lottery, how does that work? When does a reverse mortgage come due?
Yeah, good question. It's you don't have to make monthly payments as long as you're residing in the house as your primary residence. So if you're an individual and you took that loan out and you used all the money in the reverse mortgage,
okay,
did all the things you wanted to do, there's no more money allowed in the reverse mortgage.
Yep.
You still don't have to vacate. You don't have to pay it back as long as you are living in the house as your primary residence. Now, the interest is accruing on the back end, but it depends on what you did with it. Everybody's circumstance is a little different. That's why we have to run everybody's calculation. We put them forecasts in front of them so they can look down the road every year into the future, so they kind of get a sense of what it may look like being paid off at the end. But if you are out of the house for 12 consecutive months, if you get admitted into a facility, after 12 consecutive months, then the lender would expect repayment. So if let's say you had a fall and you went into nursing home for rehab, you stayed there 11 months and the doc said, hey, you can go home. Everything's fine. You got caregiver at home. That's good. Nothing happens. You can go back home and resume everything. If the doc says, hey, mom's not coming out, she's going to be safer in here, nursing home, what are you going to do? Then the heirs or whoever's helping mom would have to call the lender and say, look, it's no longer primary residence. What do I need to do? The kids can take the house, refinance it, put it in their name, refinance, pay off the balance, keep the house. They can sell the house just like any other mortgage, pay off the balance, and whatever's left is the heirs. If you're married and you do that and you go into a facility, one of you goes in, as long as the other one's in the house, nothing happens. You just maintain it. So some people take this out as a bridge. I'm not ready to go yet. I'm 76 years old and I don't want to leave yet.
Exactly.
But when I'm 82, I don't want to cut grass or worry about this anymore. And maybe I'll be ready. So they can use this as a bridge, a 5-year, 6-year bridge to just achieve whatever milestone they want to do and get a little bit more out of the house. And then they may be ready to go. I have plenty of people that do that, and they just take some of the equity now and enjoy the benefits of whatever that does for them, whatever debt that allows you to pay off, whatever cash flow that allows you to free, or if it's just to do home improvements to make it more marketable and you put new windows in or whatever you did with it. The reverse mortgage is just as you use it as much as you need and as individual as it is to everybody. It needs everybody's circumstance is different. So you just have to run the numbers. It's all free to educate. I educate plenty of people. I work with financial planners and lawyers and heirs. I've met with priests in people's houses just so they have somebody to bounce this off of with them. And it's just educating yourself to really how it works. So oh, that's not how I thought it worked, because the guy at the VFW said it was this.
And this is something that is like heavily regulated. So it's not something, I'm sure there's bad actors in all places, but that's why I wanted to talk to you, because the Washington Trust has a history of working hard to protect older adults. And that's why I wanted to get real information. So I'm assuming there's a lot of regulations, a lot of education that goes into this before anybody whips out paperwork and a pen to sign. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I go out and meet with everybody at their kitchen table. I do face-to-face appointments everywhere, just because you get these national lenders on TV and they're trying to do this stuff over the phone and sending it in the mail. It's very difficult. It's confusing. There's a lot of paperwork. You're signing a bunch of mortgage paperwork. So I go out and I visit with everybody. Once they get a feel for it and they say, okay, that seems to fit what I'm looking to do. What's next? We provide them a list of HUD approved counselors. Everybody takes a reverse mortgage, consumer safeguard put in place by HUD. They have to speak face to face or over the phone with a HUD approved counselor.
And they're not affiliated with you, right?
No, uninterested third party approved lists in any town. You can you set up your appointment. They'll call you, okay, next Thursday at 2. Have everybody who wants to be on the phone ready, and they'll go through. I'll have the paperwork with them. Sometimes the agency will send out identical paperwork just so they cover their bases. And then they just go over and reiterate everything that I've said to them. So it's a safeguard. They understand. Do you understand it's a mortgage? There's interest, there's fees. Yep. Okay. If they don't register and they're not responding the right way, the counselors won't have to give you a certificate that you attended and passed this. So that's
almost like a third party check too, to make sure that this is not like a flim flam artist pressuring someone to sign the documents, even not so much even in terms of the lender, but sometimes people's families try to pressure them to do things that are not in their best interest. So this is another way that the system as a whole works to protect our older adults, right?
Absolutely. Yes. There's consumer safeguard to protect folks at every turn on this. Even the appraisals, there's insulation between us and the appraisers. We can't even speak to the appraisers. We just call up, order it, and they pick a round robin appraiser from their list. They randomly call out to the senior. And this is after counseling, after they've, said, let's move ahead. So there's insulation levels everywhere. We collect all their documents to make sure that everything fits with their income, because there is some qualifications for income. And do the whole process. We underwrite, send the whole thing to our national lenders, work through the conditions, and the whole process with counseling, 45 to 60 days to get through all the rigmarole with the attorneys. They're doing title search and all that stuff. They're also, many of our attorneys are estate planners, so they can talk a little bit extra on the any type of topic that they may have. A lot of folks have their own estate planning attorney already, but some don't.
Right. Yeah. And so just real quick, the difference again between a home equity line of credit, the HELOC, and the reverse mortgage, real quick, in case somebody joined us late, what the differences between those two are?
Yeah, basically a home equity line of credit is a forward mortgage, if you will. It's a traditional mortgage. It's a qualify for income that you have to make sure you can have the ability to repay that, whatever the max line you're getting. And a reverse mortgage is one that you do not have monthly payments. So a HELOC, you have required monthly payments, and a reverse mortgage, you do not have required monthly payments. That frees up the cash flow for your monthly debts.
Okay. Now, we talked about a lot of stuff that is like really in-depth and involved. If people wanted to get a hold of you to just have a conversation, what is the best way for them to reach you?
My email, I put it in the chat box over there, blmahone@washtrustmortgage.com. And my cell phone is 774-218-0582. That's my direct cell phone. And it's basically just, hey, I've been hearing about this, and what is it? And then I gather some specific details, address, appraised value. I can research how much money they have outstanding on the house, if any, what they truly want to accomplish with this thing. And then I'll just run some proposals and give them plenty of stuff to read that they will be fully educated on it. And I go out to the house, I sit with them so it's really clear. I know it's a confusing subject, so we go as slow as possible to make sure everybody's on page and they get it.
Awesome. And it's actually your face that people are seeing today that would be coming out. And if say someone's not comfortable calling because it does go right to you, sometimes it's more comfortable to call the bank directly rather than call a phone number that's given out. So if people wanted to walk into a Washington Trust, can they get this information at their local branch, or can they go into their local branch and ask the branch to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have many senior customers that like their favorite branch manager that they go in and they talk to once a week. And, they're a lot of times they may be the only person that they're having conversations with, and so I do get that. They don't run specific numbers, but they will get as much info as the folks want to share, and just maybe get a little comfort feeling built up. I go to the branches if they're comfortable doing that, and I can meet the senior right in the branch that their favorite branch manager works at. We reserve a conference room. We go in and just do this whole thing face to face. But yep, I get calls from branch managers and tellers all the time. Can you call Mrs. Jones?
That is awesome. Brian, I know I asked you to come on only for like 15 minutes or so for our very first episode of Financial Fitness Fridays. It's been a lot longer than that, so I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day.
Yeah, no worries. We like working with Rhode Island Elder Info. We got a lot of good content for you going forward, a lot of things that folks will be interested in, I'm sure,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this series because finance is one of those things that is often not talked about enough until it's a crisis. So I'm glad we have this going. This is great.
Yeah, so are we. We're excited.
All righty. Thank you so much for coming on today.
All right. Thanks, Deb. Continue your good work.
Thank you. Everybody, I've worked with Washington Trust for quite some time. If you look at some of Capitol TV's legislative testimony around protecting older adults from financial abuse, you'll see that Washington Trust is often testifying on ways that they work to keep our older adults safe. So we had a conversation and we felt it's really important that we speak more about finance on our Friday Friends. So the first Friday of every month is going to be Financial Fitness Friday, where we're discussing different topics in relation to money. So if you like this, if there's a topic that you want to see us talk about, drop a note in the chat. Let us know. Send me an email. Give me a call, whatever works. So I am really excited about this new series. So I hope you are too. I look forward to seeing everybody again next week. In the meantime, be well and be kind.
If you like this video, please follow us on social media and subscribe on YouTube. For more information, visit rielderinfo.com or call 401-585-0509. If you have any questions, email deb@rielderinfo.com.